So your debrief and your improvement is, in my opinion, one of the most important areas of anyone's trading career. Now, however you do it, make sure you always come back to having a process for how you go about doing it. Now, the key areas that I go through and the things that I think will help you the most is to start with, give yourself a little bit of a step backwards. What I mean by this is, when it comes to finishing the day, you can have a lot of emotions with you. Step back and then assess the day. So what you want to be looking at is what's gone on in terms of markets. And this is where you can complete your different metrics on what markets have moved by a certain amount each day. How the markets are performing on the month. Again, this is straight away taking you away. This is just building up the bigger perspective of what's been going on. You also want to have a look at fundamental news. Was there anything new that came out throughout the day? Or how did figures react? Things like that. They're the kind of things, they're the two areas that you want to have a look through. So write down what's actually happened in the markets. Write down any kind of fundamental information you've gained. And then what you can do is, from this, you're then aiming to carry forward. One of my favourite phrases, carry information forward. So what you've got to do is take from these things what info you're actually going to need in future days coming up. So is there events? This is the fundamental side of it. Have any events been flagged up? If so, diarise them. Get them down in your diary. Know exactly when they're going to be happening. Have you had any rumours? And this, again, is more the fundamental side of it. So are they deals? What you can then start building a scenario on perhaps that rumour being denied or confirmed. So again, that's the information you want to be carrying forward. It's going to give you possible trade opportunities. You then also, from the technical side of things as well, any patterns, any big change that's been going on as well. So first up, patterns. Is the market doing a certain thing? If it is, it will often repeat. And the faster you notice that a market is doing something repetitively, the quicker you can take advantage of it, because anything that does repeat gets spotted by more and more people and stops repeating. Also, any reactions. How has the market reacted at a certain area? Is it continually bouncing from certain levels? And also any big trend breaks, big levels, if they're very big. There's no point in noting down a break of a 15-minute level, but any kind of big key levels are very, very important. You'll remember that chart that we had of the Bund that had basically trended up for the best part of 18 months, and it got a very clear trend line all the way up. Day it broke, you then got a bit of consolidation, and we then saw a big move over the coming months. So any of those big areas, that's the info to carry forward. If you carried this forward, what you would have been doing is, rather than being surprised by the size of the move or the aggression in the move, you would know that this large trend has changed. As soon as that's happened, you then know that in the coming days, you've probably got a good chance of a big fall, pick up in volatility, pick up in volume. So that's the key to carrying information forward, as well as how the market is actually reacting to anything fundamental as well. So once you've done this, you've gone through the info you want to carry forward, you've gone through how the market has reacted, what all the markets have done throughout the day. You then should have been able to have stepped back enough from the actual trades that you have done, and then you can come back and analyse them with a fresh head. So this, as I say, is my process of doing it. You may personally want to go straight in with the analysis whilst it's fresh, but I feel that stepping back makes it a little bit more objective. So when it comes to the analysis, annotate your charts. I'm not saying you have to do this every single day, but what it is very worth doing is doing it quite frequently, particularly if you've seen anything new or a new opportunity. So this is my own analysis of the DAX, and this is a reversal type trade, whereby you get a strong move down and then a fast move back up. What is it that gives you the opportunity? And I've got it noted down there, by the break of that sloping trend line. So you want to look through the trades objectively. So maintain objectivity. Also, ask yourself, what was happening at the time? What did you know at the time? There's no point in looking at this move up and going, oh yeah, well of course that was very obvious because, you know, I'd heard a bit of fundamental news and that was definitely a buy. Before the move started, was there anything that you knew that would influence you to actually have a go at that trade and have a look for the long side of the move? So that's where the analysis comes in really importantly. It also flags up any potential trade opportunities. For example, this trade, the bounce off the weekly value area low. By going through this, you'll then start to create a pattern. I've started, and this is on the recommendation of another trader, to use Evernote. This way you can add the pictures and you can then tag them. Tag your picture, and then you're going to know every time you see a weekly value area low hit for the first time in the DAX in this case, what happens? Do you see a consistent reaction? You know, is there a trade in there? And this is again going to very quickly get you recognizing things, build up that deliberate practice as I mentioned before, because by doing that you're then going to build up a lot quicker. It's basically getting you more screen time and more information very, very quickly. So once you've gone through your charts, note down, even annotate. I've not done it on this one, but actually annotate where you did buy. Did you stick to this trade? Did you get out too early? What more could you have done? And again, you can very quickly go back over these things and notice if there's any patterns. You know, if you consistently get into this trade but then get out, say here on this first little bit of resistance, is there an area that you can improve on that? You know, add to your trade, or perhaps you're right to get out there every time, but do you start doing it with more size? So think about it in that sense. It's not all about being critical, it's about looking for new trades. Now after that, you've got your journaling. This is very important, particularly your personal assessment of yourself and actually giving yourself a score. Because if you've got a score, you can notice how it's changing. It is all about measuring. So give yourself a score, and give yourself a score on various different aspects. You know, you've got the template to do it. If there's anything else that you want to add in, things that you particularly want to focus on, make sure you're actually scoring yourself on them. Also, the key thing is it allows positives. Even if you've not had a good day, it takes away from the P&L. So you're not focusing on P&L, you're looking at what you've actually done. You're being more objective. It's going to give you positives. It's going to give you areas to work on, both strengths and weaknesses. That's the whole point of your journal, as long as you are being honest. If you're not honest, then you're never going to learn from it. So be very honest. And as I say, because it has got a score, it is very easy to review. It's very easy to measure. And it also makes goals a lot easier to decide on. And that is the whole point of this journal. And also by going through the ticks per clip analysis as well. If you're doing that, what you're noticing is how many ticks you actually manage to take out of the market a day. So say you can take 100 ticks out of the market every day. What that's telling you is that over the period of a month of 20 days, you can take 2,000 ticks out of the market, which is quite a lot if you can do it consistently. So make sure you're looking at your average. But if you can do that, then what you need to be thinking about is this can give you a target. If, say, you want to earn a certain amount of money, what kind of size do you need to be doing if you're taking that many ticks per month or per day on average. So it gives you a good way of giving yourself a target, and also, once again, another goal or a target that is realistic as well. And that's the thing, you know, there's no point in saying that you take 2,000 ticks and a tick is worth 10, and so you're making 20,000 on a one lot. You're only willing to trade 5. Therefore, if your target is to make 200,000, it is not going to happen, because 5 times 20 is 100. So you've got to be realistic in what you're doing, and the ticks per clip gives you that realistic target. Now, all of this is geared to improving yourself, improving your trading, and what you can do is you take from this your strengths, very much like your strategy, and this is more to do with yourself, and your weaknesses, and you work out how you're going to improve them. Now, in terms of the improvement, you've got to be very clear. So set yourself a goal and be clear with it. And also then monitor it. So they're the 2 key things that you want from that goal. Make sure it's clear. If it is clear, you can monitor it. By doing that, you can then review it as well, and that is going to give you your feedback. That is going to be where your improvement comes from. Now, when I say monitoring it, I do literally mean give yourself a goal. Maybe your goal is to hit full size on news, and tick it off. Every time you actually manage to do that, then you get a tick for it. Reward yourself. There's no point in being in this business if you're not going to take some kind of reward for it. So that gives you something external to drive towards. Again, takes you away from the P&L. It's not all about the P&L. P&L will come secondary. We mentioned that at the very beginning. So that's the whole point of going through your journal, creating yourself little challenges, goals, and they can come down to small challenges, and that's where you really improve, because that will affect your daily performance. Is it holding it to target? Hold to target. And again, you then make yourself accountable, because you once tick this off, but if you don't do it, you get a cross. So again, you've got a personal reason to hold it to target. It's not just about your P&L. So that's the key thing there. One last thing on size. This again can be one of your improvements, and size should be a factor of confidence, and this is where your journaling helps, because you will know whether you're confident at a time. It is not just a case of, say, two up days or 2 big days and then you up your size, because you're perhaps doing it for the wrong reasons. You're perhaps just jumping in thinking, well, I've got a little bit more money, but look at your confidence and how you're performing. Confidence and performance are the key things. If you're performing well, then you can have confidence in your ability to increase your size, and then again, monitor how comfortable you are with that extra size. That is key. Once you're comfortable with it, then you're going to continue improving. You're going to see that you're doing all the trades in the right way once you're comfortable. So that's the key thing with a debrief. It's going to give you improvements. It's going to give you challenges that you can tick off, and that's going to drive you forward. It's all about helping yourself drive forward without the focus entirely on your P&L. So make sure you get your debriefing right, create yourself a process for it, and execute that just as well as you would execute any other trade.